let me start that again. The reason why I'm asking people who have Sierra, it only works, the Edge Zone audio only works on Sierra charts for now. But the reason why I'm telling people to get it, $70 one time. So if you buy it, you don't like it, that's your risk. You pay more of that commission in a week. The point of it is the feedback I got has been really good, unsolicited feedback has been really good on it. And the way a couple of people are using it, I want to bring into talking about in the future session. But well, it's on the software page of the Edge website. It should be a no-brainer to get it. You could get annual or lifetime. Lifetime is $70. So it's insane not to have it. You know where to get it. And again, I'm not saying this for any other reason than unsolicited feedback I get. I didn't reach out and say, hey, you guys like it. A couple of guys just come out and say, hey, listen, this has been great. And look at this, how I use it for that. That's cool. All right. What I want to talk about today is the test of a test. Kind of an offshoot, a little bit of Brent Nord last week. If you get a chance to watch the last 2 weeks, Steenbarger 2 weeks ago, Brent a week ago, really good stuff. And this particular session, I want to talk about kind of a nice correlation to all of us have one thing in common. We've all went to school, some at a little lower level, some at a higher level, but we all went to school. And the whole premise of a test or a quiz is to accurately mark if you're understanding the material. Now, I'm not going to give a test of trading. It has nothing to do with that, about what you understand about this business. It has to do with your trade being tested, the market testing your understanding of trying to predict what it's trying to do. And I'm going to show a couple charts in a second. But think about it. Nobody liked to get tested in school, even if it was a scheduled test, because what it did was it forced you to prepare for something. If you wanted a good result, you had to prepare for it. It's the only way teachers and institutions can mark whether or not you're getting the material. And at the end, you get a degree or a grade. So this isn't, again, about a bunch of questions I'm going to shoot out. I think I did a session several years ago. I don't know if I think I did, where, it's a quiz and those are great, but that's not what this is about. It's about your trade being tested, your position, your open long, open short. It's about the market's trade being tested, if the market is long or short. And by the way, there are things that I'm working on to make it easier to understand this whole premise of if you're not long or short, because most of the time we're not in a position. Right? Most of the time we're never in a position, but the market is. Think about that. The market's always got a position on. Someone, somewhere, somehow, and thousands of people have positions on. And there's only two you could have on. Either you're long or you're short. Don't take that personal. Let me stop this sharing the computer sound a second. So either you're long or you're short, and if you're flat, great, but someone out there is got an open position. Make sense? It says to check my mic. Is my mic working okay? Do I sound good? Wait 1 second. Check, 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 check. Oh, wait a second. I know what happened. All right. That's good. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So going back to a test, if you weren't tested, you wouldn't be able to come to any kind of result. Now, as much as we hated being tested, if you took a test and did really good on it, how good did you feel? Great. You never felt better about your school experience than after it. You did great and aced the test. You never felt better. So if you think about it, most trades that end up being great were tested because it shook out the people who didn't study for the test. And therefore, it left more of a chance for you to be at the top of your particular class if you want to use the school analogy. If you want to separate yourself from the kids who don't prepare or the kids who aren't good scholastically, then you have a harder test. And then you shake out the people who don't prepare, who can't prepare. Then you'll see results. So let's apply this to a trade and something that Brent had said last week. And he was wrong about, but that didn't mean he had to lose money. And I'm going to illustrate this instead of showing it on a screen or on a chart. Just illustrate it for a second. The test of a test is the name of this session, but just follow these illustrations. If you remember, I think last Monday, we tested a low of about 2,800. I think it was maybe officially 27.99, set 90.75, right? So let's say 2,800. Now, 2,800 is always these psychological levels where you're going to get people trying to play it long. And we went down there and then opened up, I don't know if it's Tuesday or Wednesday at like 28.20, like 20 points higher than the overnight and the previous day session's low, which was 2,800 even. And if you remember, Brent said that, I'm not that confident that these guys got it that easy. It's not going to be that easy. An easy level to buy support against, and it's just going to work to the tune of 20 points, 30 points, 40 points, and onward. It's got to get tested before it's going to work. Generally, is what he meant, the probability. He says, and then sometimes maybe it's not tested, but generally it's not going to be that easy. So all great trades, not all great trades, not all of anything, but most great trades have to get tested, just like great students, great athletes. Everybody's got to pass the test. In a performance type of environment like this is, your test is every day, which is like every game for an athlete. Every session for us is like a game for an athlete. And you're constantly trying to pass the test that the pitcher is giving you if it's baseball, that the hitter is giving you if you're the pitcher. But in this case, 2,800 even never was tested. Generally, it's never going to be that easy. Great trades are never going to go untested. Now, it would be great when you have effortless trades. We call them the 1, 2, 3. And I don't think enough people do this, and I think you should. And that is, how effortless or difficult was your trade? Just the winners. And this has everything to do with the test of the test. Your trades that are winners, are they effortless? Then it's a 1. If it was a real bust your chop type of trade, took heat, probably should have puked it for a loser, got the winner, then it was a 3. Somewhere in the middle, it was a 2. If it keeps testing you, then it's a 3. Generally, you're going to fail the test. It was almost, and this is the best analogy I can give, when a market, say you buy the price of 62 even right now, all right? Or you're long from 62 even. Right now it's trading 64.5, but you're long from 62 even in the E-minis. All right, that's your open position. And the market came down, tested you, and it went up. Come back down, you're still in the position. Test you, and it goes up.
4/2.
Comes back
4/2.
down, tests you, and it goes up.
4/2.
At some
4/2.
point, this is like the
4/2.
teacher saying, oh, you did good on that
4/2.
test. Try this one before I give you a grade. All right, you did good on that test. Try this one before I give you your A. She's like, hey, teach, what am I doing here? I keep passing your test. She's going to keep giving you a test until you fail. So you can't get tested. You can't have your trade tested too much because eventually the trade's going to fail. And if you're long from 62 even, it's going to go back through 62 even. That's why eventually consolidation boxes get broken. Longs just can't take the test anymore. Shorts at 61 even this morning couldn't take the tests anymore.
5/4.
There was like 9 solid tests to 61, 62 even in the first hour. Today, May 21st, if you're watching this on a recording, go back and look at the first hour of the S&P minis. There were like 9 rotations to 61 even, 62 before they broke out to 70. The shorts just couldn't take the top of the rotation, and there was too many tests. So there's always that balance of how many tests are too many and what's a healthy kind of amount of tests. But one thing that's important is don't be surprised, and I want to draw this so it sticks. Don't be surprised and mad if this is a person
5 even. 5 even.
with the big
5
grapefruit
even.
eyes
5
when you
even.
get tested
5 even.
because you're supposed to, and it might make the trade better, but it don't feel like it at the time. So when you buy 61 evens and it goes up and it comes down and tests 61 evens and holds, you should feel better about the trade in there than you would in here. Now, you don't feel great in here because you don't like to take a test, but this feeling is passing the test and that great feeling you had when you went to school and you aced it. You didn't want to take it, you prepared for it, you took it, and now you got your A+ and you're up here. Knowing that you passed the test when you're in trades should give you more confidence that the trade's working. If you remember Brent talking about adding to win, a very difficult strategy to implement when you add to your position. But he is pretty good at just knowing the trade's working. And what he means by that is it's passing the tests. It's creating that upside. If it's an upside, if it's a long position, he's adding in pullbacks and in spots. And the
6/2.
tests continue.
6/2.
The bulls continue to
6/2.
pass each time they're tested. But when the trade comes back to tests, it generally is not doing it because it doesn't like you. It's doing it because that's the functionality of what makes a healthy move up or down healthy. Let me put it a different way with a test of a price. All right. You often hear they tested this price, they tested the high, they tested the low. And it has nothing to do with your position at this point. It also, in this particular example, has to do with testing a price because it's testing other people's positions. The market's position. Is the market too long or too short? Well, the longs are going to get tested where? On the lows, and the shorts get tested usually on the highs. They're going to test something. Did they pass or not? Test swing highs, test swing lows, test the high of a session, test the low of the session. That's why those prices have some importance. How well did it test? That's how you start implementing and using the word structure. Now, here's the caveat. Here's what's the giant problem is. When it looks convincingly bullish, it's too late to buy it. You have to put yourself in a position to not be offended when it tests your trade, but also put yourself in a position to read the market better by knowing that it's testing other longs and other shorts. other open positions. And, and here and here's why Trump is dropping down the wires again. Open positions get tested, whether it's your open position or the market's open position, as the functionality of a market doing what it's supposed to do in the whole price discovery process. Okay? So you got long positions, and there's a lot of longs at a certain price. And let's say there is many longs at the price. Let's just keep using 61 even. We know, and you guys know as Edge members, if there is indeed a lot of longs, then there's a lot of sellers. So if the price is up and it's satisfying a lot of the longs from down there, there's still a lot of sellers. Price is up here. They're long from down in here. There's still a lot of sellers. And they generally sell it back down to the price many of them started, because they get shook out. There's a reason why it went down to the price where they started, and then generally will bounce from it, generally, because most of them are out and the selling is abated, so it can bounce. And then you might say, well, why is it not random that 61 even would be the price that it bounced? Just put yourself in the trade. If you're long from here, 61 even, and it rallies, let's say 3 points, which is a pretty decent rally in winter, and it starts to come back 2 ticks, 3 ticks, 4 ticks. What are you? You're a seller, and now you're an anxious seller because you see it go 3 points, and now it's only a 2-point winner. It's only a 1.5-point winner, and now it's only a 1-point winner. And now instead of making 3 points, you feel like you're down 2 points, even though you're still up 1. You're like, screw this, I'm out. And you wear out that feeling of those anxious sellers down to the price, and you've exhausted all of them, because the final ones say, I'm not taking a loser on this one, and they sell it where they bought it, then it goes. And then how many people are familiar with this saying? I get out and then it goes. I get out and then it goes.
Forehand.
Get out for a loser, then it goes. Or I cut my winner short, then it goes. Scratched it, and then it goes. It's because you were long or short with too many other longs or shorts. So there's a couple things that we're working on to help understand other people's positions from within. And I don't know how well this is going to work. I'm always working on things to see. If you're not working on stuff, then I think that you're not doing what Steenbarger said 3 months ago when he came in, or 6 months ago when he came in. Not 2 weeks ago. He said this 6 months ago. You always got to work on this, your edge. Now, when you're part of a group, you got more eyes and ears working on an edge. I don't have to be the only one. But I'm working on stuff that will allow us to look at what the delta is in a specific area. Not just delta day or delta hour, delta, but delta from right now. Delta from, well, what was the delta in here? And there's things that probably do this, and that's fine. But they don't do it in relationship to something else. And that's one thing that's important. You'll see what I'm talking about when it's complete. But it helps with saying, where are these goofs going to get tested? Right? Where are these morons going to get tested? And then why does that give me confidence to know whether or not the test was passed?
5 quarter.
When it's your trade, I want you to remember that in order to have progress, you have to pass some sort of test. In school, we knew what that was about. And in trading, it's if your long position gets tested, that's not the market saying we're going to make it hard for you to make money. It's the market doing what it's supposed to do to either be healthy or not. It's what makes a good trade good, generally. That's why either position long or short, if you're able to scale, all right, it creates the ability to be prepared for the test. It's the studying for the test the appropriate amount of times and giving yourself the best chance to pass the test on Friday. Scaling allows you to take profit so that you could pass the test. When you're all in size wise, then you're all in emotional wise. And when you're all in emotionally, it's harder to make good decisions. And you'll
5
just
quarter,
like a test, you know
5
when you're not
quarter,
prepared for a test
5 quarter,
when you're taking it. And I guarantee most of us are like, why didn't I just prepare for this test? Because I got a crappy feeling I'm taking this test and I know I'm not going to do well on it and I know why. Scaling out gives you I prepared for this test like I was told to prepare for it. And I teach my kids this and I tell them, I go, especially as they get older, I said, you don't have to go and get the project done 2 days before it's due. You don't have to study for 4 hours if the teacher says study a couple hours. Just do what she tells you to do. Supposed to study 2 hours, study 2, not 4, but not 5 minutes. Projects due on Friday, have it done on Friday. You have it done on Wednesday or Thursday. Have it done on Friday. And if you do what you're told, you're way ahead of everybody else. And that's how you get your A's. And that's how you get your B's. Don't be the guy who studies 5 minutes, supposed to study for 2 hours, or the guy who says, I'm going to get it done on Wednesday, never has it done on Friday, and then Monday comes. Just do what they tell you to do. But getting back to this not being a life lesson, this being a market testing your confidence in that particular opinion. So nobody wants to be tested, and you don't want to be tested too much in a particular trade because then you don't want to be in that trade anymore. The more tests that you're going to be given in a position, the more likely you are to fail eventually in that particular setting, in that scenario, in that sequence, in that trade. Again, and I think this is a good analogy. If you took a test, you passed it with an A, teacher came right back, handed you another one. So what's this? Now you got to pass this one. Oh, passed it A. Well, wait a second. Before I give you your A, you got to pass it again. Passed it. Eventually, you're not going to pass it. You're not going to get your A. Too many tests. Now, that doesn't happen in a school setting, but it happens in trading. You have to start questioning how good your trade is if it's tested more than once, more than twice, and so on. And this is walking guys into a longer time frame trading scenario. And I don't mean multiple days or hours, but a little longer term than just scalping, having a better understanding of where the market is. Because if you got the market too long or too short, you found your bias. I said this in the trading room, as well as working on stuff for the delta to make it easier to read the delta and therefore read order flow, because delta is part of order flow. Make it easier to read where the market might be and work on the bias. Most of this education really works on the execution, which is a big missing link of most people. That doesn't mean the bias is unimportant. It just means that most people work just on creating an opinion and not creating when to qualify that opinion, whether it's a support zone, resistance zone, whatever created your opinion. Doesn't matter what creates the execution, the qualification or disqualification of that opinion. That's important. So a healthy amount of tests and the patience to know, hey, it was supposed to do this. Scaling out allows you to be better prepared to pass the test. And make it simple. If you're long from here and the market gave you a winner, you didn't take anything. When it comes to test your price, you're less likely to hold on to it. And then when it does this, you have a better understanding that the health of this rally for you in the trade is greater because you were tested. Hey, we'd love to buy it right here and have the market go straight up to our target. Never
5
hesitate,
quarter,
never come back, never test us. And life is good. That only happens when you got some inside information and you buy it at the exact time it hits the wires. So unless you have that kind of information, or when you have that kind of information on a news event and you catch it kind of quick, you're not going to get trades to go generally from entry to target in a heartbeat. You're going to deal with this roller coaster in between. And in order to stay off the roller coaster from making too many loops and getting you sick, you need to scale. Now there's no excuse not to be able to scale because there's the micros that came out. And the micro, I think, could be the best thing to happen to newer traders, to traders who are struggling, because it gives you the ability to trade cheap, to trade less expensive with multiple contracts. I mean, when you're trading 2-3 contracts in the ES, that's 25, 40, 50 bucks a tick. So it's tough to trade without trading multiple contracts, but it's expensive to trade in most of these markets before the micro. And now the micro, I know the commissions are a little heavy and a little rich versus the tick size, but it's still cheaper than the commissions on an E-mini by about a third, even though the tick size is about 10 times less. It just gives you the opportunity to practice with multiple contracts. All right, number one, with skin in the game, number two. And most people don't have skin in the game. All people don't have skin in the game when it's on sim or demo. So you could trade like absolute crap and maybe lose $50 instead of $500. Big difference. And I want people to trade the micros. And like one or two guys that talk to me about it, they're mad because they make money, but it doesn't amount to anything. And I love it. That's what it's supposed to be. I want people to get mad that they're making money and it doesn't amount to anything. But the results are up from this standpoint. And if they're not up, you're going to get mad when they're up, but you're going to get a lot less mad when they're down because it's not going to amount to much either. That keeps you in the game. So don't be afraid of the test. Prepare for it by scaling. The micros are giving people a chance to do that. A lot less expensive than $12.50 a tick. The liquidity was the big question, and it seems to have passed that test by being pretty liquid on both sides all day long. If you look at the volume of the E-mini today, for example, they've done about 870,000. 10% of that is 80,000. And the micro is at 122,000. So even though it's 10 times less a tick, it's doing more than 10% of the ES volume. 122,000 on the micro today versus 870 in the E-mini. So there's liquidity at each price. Going back to Brent's example, and it doesn't have to be a psychological level, 2,800, 2,900, even or whatever else, but find that too easy trade. Don't make me do all the homework to find and work on every single. Don't make anybody else do it. Let it come to you. But research, when someone helps you, that's great, and that's gravy. But when you're researching and you want to be this great market profiler, be a great market profile to do the opposite of what's too easy for market profilers. So when these market profilers all are tested, chances are if too many are tested, they're all going to fail it, especially profile. To me, profile has a lot of retail people that use it. That doesn't mean everyone who uses it's retail. There's a lot of sharp guys that use it. We have some guys in this community. But there's a lot of people who think that profile was the holy grail, so they all master it. Okay? So if you want to be a great profiler, See when there was a profile trade, okay? A profile trade that was obvious, but it's still ongoing. So let's say it's a long profile setup. It hadn't paid them yet, though. They haven't been paid, but they're loaded up. Where do you think they're wrong? And now you play it opposite. Where they're wrong, because they might get paid. There are going to be instances when the highly obvious and easy to recognize profile long paid them. There'll be more instances where they get it jammed down their throat. You want to be a great profiler. Work on using profile to see where they're loaded up the wrong way because it was such an obvious long for these guys. Where are they wrong at? That is advice to people who already are pretty proficient in profile. Oh, hold on, Ken. I do, but I want to not today.
4/2.
Any questions? Now, I didn't do this at the beginning of the session. I'm going to do it now, and that's a quick overview for guys that are in the trading room that you're hearing about some of these tech companies taking a beating because of the US-China trade deal, and whether it's the tariffs or Huawei and how Trump is squeezing them and the ancillary companies that are involved and how Apple leads us, has more exposure to China and things like that. So you got to pay attention. US-China trade is still the number one driver to this market. When and if, not if, but when there are negative or positive rhetoric coming either from China or Trump, the U.S. as to getting together, meeting at the G20, not meeting, you're going to have knee-jerk reactions that might have a long-lasting effect. This market on a medium time frame to long time frame is really, to me, like a beach ball underwater. It's hard to get this thing to stay super weak, even though all these headwinds are hitting it. You got unrest with Iran in the Middle East the last week. You got this whole US-China trade deal over the last 8 or 9 days, totally breaking apart. You've got Congress at war with the president. Impeachment is still out there drifting around. The most underlying strength in this market is the market, the economy, the strength in it and of it. That could break down. It just seems like this market wants to rally. A lot of that was shown yesterday with the overwhelming bearishness, and we couldn't break, and they end up getting back up here to the 60s and 70s. Also, this is important. Dave reminds me of this, Tom, other guys. The Russell has been and created some great leadership.
4 even.
It was strong today.
3/2.
All in here.
3/2.
But it had quick moves. They'll get volatile. When it's not
3
doing anything,
3/4.
it's not helpful.
3 3/4.
Remember, with an ancillary, the test of how an ancillary is working for you is quick movement in it, a breakout of some sort. The ebb and flow of tick by tick isn't going to help you, but a quick move that's recognized in an ancillary market is therefore maybe a surprise to the market. So in everyone's journey to getting better, whether you are or not, it's a lot easier to learn. You let your hair down, create relationships with other guys and people and everything else. Trust me when I tell you, if it wasn't for a prop firm, I wouldn't have been successful. So you got to emulate that as much as possible. Helps you pass the test. Different kind of test, but it helps you pass the test to getting and staying successful, getting patient. I think the stupid news idea that Brett and Brad have been using and now putting out their podcasts for individual stocks is awesome, and how applicable it is to futures. So I'm going to talk to Brent to get down deeper a little bit into a couple of specific examples on the future side. Anybody got questions? Just to wrap it up, the test of your trade or the test of other people's position. Find out if it was just too easy for everyone who bought it at 62 for it to just keep going to 72 and 82 and 92. And so the vernacular that you guys would start using when watching this is they're probably going to have to go back and test 61. They're probably going to have to test, or they already did test it. You know what I mean? They are going to, they're going to have to look and test. Let's get rid of this and bring up this. They're going to have to test 61 even, and they did. If you take a look at after they finally got out of this vicious consolidation box over the first hour, right here, they came back on the very next rotation to test it and then leave it. I'd only call that one test, because then it kept climbing higher. Then you had your next easy pop. Do you notice how this congestion box didn't take long to break out? Because it was all of this not crazy amount of testing that was taking place in this box. You didn't have a lot of longs in the market in here. They're all beat up, failed the test all in here. Not a lot of longs, not a lot of sellers. Just to clear a path for it to go up. You could put yourself into a situation where you're asking yourself better questions by going and saying, well, can we break out of this box to the upside? Well, did it test and shake out any longs? Yeah. All right. Then maybe there's a better chance to break out. But you don't want the test to go too deep, because that gives shorts a chance to get out. I'll leave you with this. It's always easier to understand how others are feeling by putting yourself in the position of how you would feel if you were long, if you were short. And if it's an obvious reaction or answer, if I was long, I'd feel this way. If I was short, I'd feel this way. If it's obvious to you, then that's how longs and shorts are feeling in the real world. You don't have to be long or short to feel like you're long or short. We'll see you guys in the room tomorrow or in this session next week. Remember about this Edge audio. It's a no-brainer to get it. Go to Edge Trading Group. You guys know how to get there. Software. I'm not saying it to sell it. I'm saying it because the feedback I got without asking for it. And you guys from the UK, get that Brexit fixed. I don't even live there and I'm sick of hearing about it. Don't make me dress like a colonist and go over there, because I will. Have a safe session and week, everyone. See you tomorrow or next week.
3 3/4.